Hi, I'm Ashley Lackinger, and this is LadyBoss, a web series where I interview women in, from, and around Chicago, making a difference in their community, our city, and the world. Today's guest is Jenna Blazevich, owner of Vichcraft, a calligraphy and design studio that is pushing the boundaries of feminist art and female-led design. Jenna prides herself on creating whimsical art with meaning, whether that means a jean jacket that says "Girls to the Front" or a beautiful piece of art for the city of Chicago made out of bullet casings. Today, we're going to talk with Jenna about what it's like to own your own business, where her inspiration for Vichcraft came from, and what it's like to be featured by Martha Stewart. How are you?
Hey, good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me today. I am so excited to talk to you about everything.
Of course.
So this is this your new space or?
This will be my new building.
Okay.
I'm working out of a friend's studio space
Okay.
here. We'll see it.
Yeah.
And then in 2 weeks, I'll move into a space around the corner from her.
Okay. Well, let me. Oh, it's closed. That was a really heavy door.
Yes.
Okay. Let's start walking and talking.
Cool.
So as I guess on our way to our studio, I want to jump into it a little bit and just ask you, what was the inspiration for Vichcraft, which is a badass name.
Thank you. Well, the inspiration for the name came from me brainstorming a whole bunch about words that sort of speak to the type of work that I like to do and the aesthetic that I wanted to hone in on. And of course, my last name and my interest in craft.
Her last name is Blazevich, just in case.
Yes. So I was making all these lists and trying to be like Blaze, Vich, art, something.
Yeah.
And eventually it just came. And honestly, a lot of the aesthetic of Vichcraft sort of came from that being the name that I solidified for my actual business. And all of it sort of fell together because I've been working on these pieces of work that are magical and mystical and speak to the occult and tarot cards.
It's kind of like feminine mystique almost, right?
Yeah, so there's like a lot of that going on in part because I'm inspired by my own name that I sort of found for myself. So yeah, that's where the inspiration for that came from.
Okay.
And the focus of my business comes from my background in agency, experience and working on branding design for more corporate agencies and learning how to handle client projects like that and then applying it to my freelance work and eventually kind of doing that full time.
Okay, so were you a freelance, right? Because so I know that you went to college for design, but did you jump into freelance work right away, or it sounds like maybe you worked for an agency?
I did 6 internships while I was in design school, which is wacky.
Is so much. You were so busy.
Yeah, and I freelanced on the side of probably all of them because my undergrad took me 6 years. I originally studied fashion design.
Okay,
and
interesting.
Then, for about 3 years. And then changed my major to graphic design. And so at that point I was already 2.5 to 3 years behind. And so I felt really driven to do internships while I was in school to kind of stay on pace with my classmates that I had started school with. And I was really like envious of the fact that they were already doing some real world stuff. So I pursued a bunch of internships and then learned some things that I applied to freelance on the side of those internships.
So what made you want to make a switch from fashion to graphic design? Because in my mind, I feel like those are two totally kind of like separate things. I guess two opposite sides of the same coin. Is that how you would put that?
Yeah, for sure. It relates in my mind now, like a hindsight is 20/20 situation. Because I've always loved working with my hands and creating things that are actually tactile. Yeah. So obviously that still relates to the things that I'm making now in my shop. And with calligraphy, it's all analog.
Yeah.
But
sorry, analog, does that mean like not digital?
digital.
Okay.
Yeah. So I do work
you.
digitally a lot too.
Okay.
So you're correct. But I have always been drawn to working with my hands, and in high school that was applied to making my own clothes.
Okay.
And so I made
that is so cool.
Yeah. So it totally makes sense now because I'm making a line of wearables, and it's all sort of come full circle. But my decision to transfer to a graphic design major came from finding out that I really loved visual communication.
Okay.
I was really into gig poster design and
more than the actual designing of the clothes.
Yes.
Okay.
And I kind of found out the reality of what my options would be if I had a fashion design degree. It would be more, working in kind of the behind the scenes, not a lot of design opportunities and more pattern making and production jobs. And so, in an effort to kind of make sure my options were, I had a wider range of design options. I changed to graphic design, and now I've applied my graphic design background to clothes.
I was going to say because you have jackets and you have totes. Yeah. So I know we are right outside your studio, so I want to make sure that we get in so we can see all of the cool stuff that you're making. I feel like we got so into it, we stopped walking.
No, it's cool.
Okay, so let's go turn the corner and we will enter your studio, and I'm just so excited.
Yeah,
okay.
Let's go have a look.
Okay, so this is officially your space, right?
This is my friend Eileen's space. She has her studio, other studio that she runs out of here, and then I will be down the hall.
Okay, when you get in your new space.
Yep. For now, I work out of here.
Awesome.
And it's a great space.
So this is, your old space was the same building as the Cards of Humanity people, right?
Yep. Cards Against Humanity ran their space as a co-working space. I have a desk there, and then I'm transitioning into having my own space so that I could have all the product that I'm selling in one place, and I could teach my workshops in the same space, and sort of just have it all happen there.
Okay, so I want to make sure that we walk over to your stuff because it all looks so cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But I want to ask you because in my mind, having the desire to do something, and at this point, like you just switched to graphic design, you're doing internships, and like I guess in my mind, the desire to own your own business and then actually owning your own business is still so different.
Totally.
So when to you was it kind of like I'm doing this? There is no looking back, and I am owning my own business, and Vichcraft is real.
Definitely after I worked at my dream job, I moved to Boulder, Colorado to work at this packaging design agency.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, called Moxie Sozo. Yeah, that was my dream job. That's what I'd said for years. Like the epitome of quality graphic design that has really illustrative lettering and a lot going on visually, and I just really loved it for a long time. And I applied there before I was graduating, and they were interested in having me come and intern to see if I would be a good fit for full-time. So I made the move to go and do that. And the experience there was great, and I got to make all this work that really added some interesting things to my portfolio. And most of all, it was really validating because I was extended the offer to work there full-time. So instead of doing that, I felt like that was the validation that I had been seeking.
Almost
to
like
actually
permission?
make the jump. Yeah, like you can make work that's good enough to work here. Why don't you do it for yourself at your own small little studio? So that's definitely when in my mind it became like a real thing that I could realistically do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're about to jump into some really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Can I awkwardly pull these chairs over for us to sit in?
No, let's.
Okay, yes. Thank you. So now that we have sat down on the chair so we can really start digging into like the meat of your life. Okay, so you were telling me a little bit about how you got your job in Colorado and in your mind this was like your dream job. And then when they offered to hire you full time is when you decided to walk away?
Yes.
I feel like that is so, like were you scared?
Definitely. Yes, of course.
So then how do you, because in my mind I'd be like, no, it's so much safer to stay here. Like, how am I going to pay my bills? Like, in my mind, that would be almost paralyzing.
Yeah.
How did you motivate yourself to move back to Chicago and start your own business?
I talked to a lot of people about where I was at in my freelance career and where I was at with this full-time opportunity at what I had said was my dream job. I just reached out to the people who knew me and followed closely what I was doing, and so that I could get an honest opinion from them on whether or not I was ready to do this. And so some of those people were my self-employed friends that had the experience to kind of apply to whether or not I was a good candidate for self-employment, because not everyone is. And,
Absolutely.
And speaking with people who are close to me about whether or not this was financially smart decision based on my responsibilities. And so it was a lot of talking, and it was definitely valuable to get their opinions on where I was at, but honestly, it was also really great to just hear myself talking so many times over about whether or not I trusted that I could figure things out, because you're certainly never completely ready for anything risky. You just kind of have to convince yourself that you'll be able to figure out the things as they come up. And that's essentially what happened. Was I talked to all those people, and I kind of realized I was relatively young to start a business.
You're still really young, Jenna.
Still a young person.
You're still super young, and you own a badass business.
Thank you. That's so nice. But I realized, you know, in my mind, I was thinking maybe I'll wait like 5-10 years, gain some more experience, get some more established of a position in the design industry before I start my business. And then I realized at that point, I will have so much more financial responsibility, possibly family responsibility. Things would be way different then than they are now. So yes, I was young when I started, but honestly, this is like the perfect time because my financial responsibilities are just, you know, my student loans and making sure that I can make rent, and that's a lot, you know, less of a risk than I just realized it was a really good time compared to when I was imagining I'd be ready.
Yeah, no, I think that makes total sense. So how did you, I know that you talk about how you have some self-employed friends, but how did you learn the business of owning your own business? Because you didn't go to school for business. No. So I imagine that learning out how to file your taxes as a self-employed person is a learning curve, or even learning how to market your business, or how do you pay yourself? You know, how did you learn all of those things?
I'm still learning a lot of those things and using those resources of the people that I know that are self-employed to kind of bounce ideas off of and try to ask them how to do certain things. But the internet is super important when you're trying to do this kind of thing.
What brought you to that place where you're like, I want to do things about feminism. I want to do things about girls to the front and strong women and self-employed little bitches. Like, where did that?
I don't know. It's not only that. I like to think about a lot of things that relate to social issues and my place in this world and what I feel about it and what I feel needs to be talked about more or thought about more. And so the first like activist piece of art that I made had nothing to do with feminism necessarily.
Was it the Chicago thing with the bullet cases? Because I was not joking when I said I stalk you.
Because no, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, that was the first thing that I made under my name, Vichcraft. Yeah. And that was something that was totally self-initiated and self-funded. And it had to do with living in a neighborhood where I felt like I was more connected to Chicago's gun violence issue and the complete separation from it that certain people experience when they live in a neighborhood where that isn't something that they have to think about in a realistic way on a day-to-day basis, and how Chicago has always been sort of segregated in that way. Yeah. Not just related to gun violence, but just that you have this city of beautiful architecture, and that's the City Beautiful movement is the architecture movement that I was inspired by for the aesthetic of the piece. Okay. So that's what Chicago is to some people, and they think of this like world-class design city with this beautiful skyline. Yeah. And then there are other people that are like Chirac, like you're gonna get shot, like how could you even live there? Yeah. And both of those things are completely, I don't know, the reality of it for some groups of people is really different. And I wanted to make the piece that was,
it's such a juxtaposition.
Yeah, the aesthetic of it is speaking to the, you know, world-class design city, but the medium of choice is bullet casings. And like, this is also Chicago, and this is a problem. Some people get the luxury of not thinking about it, but this is happening, and it's an issue.
You have such a strong aesthetic and such a strong feel, and I've been following your work for a while on Instagram, and I know we interviewed Barbara, the owner of Recycle Bar, a couple weeks ago with Diane, and I know that you guys went to school together, that you've done the design for Recycle Bar too. So I feel like now, just because I've been stalking you, that when I see things, I'm like, oh my God, Jenna must have done that. How long did it take you to get to that point? Was it a few years?
Yeah, definitely. More than just a few years.
Because I feel like that's so important, like for me to hear, and probably for other people too, is that I think we get so impatient and we want these things to happen overnight, and we want to wake up tomorrow with Vichcraft. So how many years did it take you to get to this place where you feel like you have a brand aesthetic?
Upwards of 5, I would say.
Wow.
Because I was already designing.
Thank God you started young, right?
Sure. I really feel that way. Like, I'm so glad I didn't convince myself to keep waiting.
Yeah.
Because it would be a bummer to look back and feel like I could have done it sooner.
Yeah.
But I definitely was directionless, like I said, when I was in fashion design school, and I was trying to combine all these graphic design trends and things that I was really into my fashion design work, and everything was sort of jumbled and didn't really make sense. And my professors would tell me that and be like, what are you doing? This isn't happening right now. And then when I started graphic design school, I felt really behind my peers who were already getting really good at graphic design. I was just starting out, and I was really antsy, and I wanted to get better. So I pursued a lot of personal projects and kind of assigned a lot of things to myself that I knew would help me grow in the ways that I wanted to grow, like illustration work and lettering work. Those are all assigned to myself. I didn't learn any of that stuff in school. I just learned so much more by seeking out other resources or doing all those internships. I learned way more there than I did in school. So that's, I don't know, something that I look back on and think like that certainly plays into where I'm at now and what I'm able to do now. Yeah. But I think I just want to more than
actually.
Because how do you justify spending so much money on out-of-state tuition to go to to go to fashion design school and then eventually ditch it and just be like,
but I think that's so brave that you did that. I feel like
it's terrifying.
So many people would have, it's like, I'm already on this path and I just need to keep going on this path and I'll learn to love it again.
Yeah, for sure. And I went through all those conversations with myself, like, what if, I just stay here and I study graphic design on the side and try to find books and stuff, and I just realized, like, no, don't be an idiot. Don't pay for school that you don't feel passionate about, because it's hard to, you're so right. There are many people that when they're in it, they just convince themselves to just keep going. Yeah. But it's hard because you're not like writing those checks as they're going, like for all those classes.
Yes. You're just filling out the FAFSA and you're signing the papers for the loans, but they don't.
You will handle it. But
yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so this really is my last question. I promise. So you were recently, this past year, featured on the Martha Stewart website, and okay, that's huge.
I know.
That's huge. I can't even believe that we have gone this whole time without talking about it yet.
I just love how much you're into it.
I'm obsessed with her. She's
I see that.
Just awesome. Yeah, like, she's an awesome businesswoman, plus she's incredibly talented, and I feel like she has, I can talk about her for days. So I'm going to take a back seat to that. Yeah. But I want you to tell me, how did that even become a reality?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird way that happened. I had a woman take one of my calligraphy workshops. Okay. And she and a business partner have a supper club called Filigree Suppers. Okay. And they do a quarterly supper where they bring in a bunch of creatives that kind of contribute different pieces to make this beautiful tablescape, and people get to eat delicious food and meet the people next to them, and mostly they're strangers, so it's a really great thing that they do.
That sounds like much more like a low-key networking.
Yeah. Yes. There's no real agenda. It's just like, let's hang and enjoy these nice things together. So she took my class, and she was trying to do it so that she could do place cards for that night's supper club, and she nailed it. She was really great.
Oh my goodness.
And so she talked to me afterwards about whether or not I'd be willing to contribute calligraphy to a future supper club, and I was like, yes, absolutely, I would love to. And then she reached back out to me maybe like a month later to talk about whether we would be into doing entirely lettering themed fall supper. And so that was really exciting, and because I got to have a lot of free reign to kind of design certain elements of the table and make it look as different as I wanted, because in the past when I had done editorial work for like tablescapes to be photographed and sent to wedding blogs and things, there's like certain limitations that you kind of have when you're working on those things, because you're doing it to get certain kinds of clients and stuff. Yeah. But for the fall supper that we did, we got to do a lot of weird stuff, which was exciting. So it was
you did like a whole runner that was just lettering.
Yeah, it was a 30.
I told you I like stalked your Instagram.
So you're researching.
It was a lot of research.
Yeah, it was 30 feet long.
How long did that even take you to do?
A while, like a day probably.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, But it was cool. It ended up looking really nice.
It looked awesome.
My mom came. I had my sister come to the supper, and it was her birthday surprise. And then my mom came, and my sister's boyfriend. We all sat together.
Aww.
But my mom had her heart set on taking the runner home. There's food all over it, so we had to let it go.
Oh my
I told
God.
I told her make her another one. But so
I was gonna ask if you had it here. I'm so sad
it'd be
now.
cool. I'll have to make another one.
Yes,
it looks cool. But the point about Martha Stewart, I guess, is that the Supper Club women have been featured before for certain like DIY projects on Martha Stewart's blog, I believe.
Yes.
So they had taken these really Lena Caro, the photographer who was at the event taking pictures of the table. She had these pictures that she took, and then Elise, the woman who I had met who asked me to do all this, submitted them to Martha Stewart's blog as kind of like a feature of like a fall moody tablescape, but also
which I feel is perfect for
my,
you. Like
my vibration. Yes. But then as kind of a DIY for certain things, because I had used Martha's products to make these. I made stencils for people's initial, and then used glass etching cream to make monogram glass for everyone to take home. So it was cool. That was kind of like blowing my mind. It was a lot of planning to make sure that all these things were happening in time for this like one event. But I like to do that kind of thing, like a lot of planning ahead and then sort of having it all come together in this one grand like reveal, which is the case for Renegade Craft Fair. It's the case for my workshops. It's really nice because then after they're done, it's like just like that happened. Yeah, because there's like, we have all of the photos and people have a great time, and then it's over. Because a lot of the projects, this is a kind of not related, but not a lot of the projects that I work on are like that, because some projects I work on for a year and a half, a lot of branding design, then translates into the web design or signage for the place, and the reveal is never like one grand thing that has sort of a stopping point. Luckily it's something that kind of like continues to feed, and I continue to be the retaining designer for those things. So doing events where it's just like this one big like in that case this beautiful table and everyone had a great dinner and stuff, and then kind of the photos lived on, but after that it was like, cool, that is done, and it was fun.
Awesome. Well, okay, I promise you that was my last question. So that was my last question. But I want to say thank you so much. It was so informative and so cool to hear you talk about these things and talk about your inspiration for all of your designs and kind of where you started out, and then being patient for yourself to catch up to where you wanted to be. I know it's helped me. I know it's going to help so many other lady bosses out there that want to be doing this. So if people want to find out more information about Vichcraft or Jenna Blazevich, do you mind sharing where they can go?
Yeah, no, I don't mind.
And you can talk directly.
Cool. It is me. My website is vichcraft.com. Vichcraft is spelled Vichcraft. And so that has my portfolio of work on it, and there's a link to my shop where I sell all these things, and I also list my calligraphy workshops in the shop link as well. And then my handle on Instagram is the same, Vichcraft, and the same is for Twitter, but I'm not usually there as much. It's just like a whole thing. Instagram is a good place to find me. Yeah.
Great. So keep an eye out then on Instagram for Jenna. Make sure to check out her website. Please continue to like and share us. We are LadyBoss. You can find us on our Facebook or on our Instagram under LadyBoss Series, as well as our YouTube channel. So thank you so much, and thank you, Jenna. This was awesome.
Thank you. This is perfect. Thank you.